SarahJMaas, A Court of Thorns and Roses. Step into a world where fairy tale boundaries blend with gripping intrigue in SarahJMaas's A Court of Thorns and Roses. In this modern retelling of the classic Beauty and the Beast, we follow Feyre, a young huntress whose life takes a pivotal turn after a fateful encounter in the woods. Against the backdrop of human and fairy lands divided by a wall both literal and metaphorical, the story explores themes of survival, prejudice, and the quest for self-identity. Readers can anticipate an intricate journey as Feyre navigates the complexities of captivity, burgeoning love, and personal redemption. This summary will delve into the critical shifts in Feyre's character, her entanglement in fairy politics, and the rich retelling that expands a beloved tale into a saga of depth and emotion, inviting you to reflect on themes of sacrifice and the power of love in overcoming the darkest trials.
Beauty Unbound. In a tale threaded with mystery and transformation, Feyre embarks on a desperate quest for survival in the stark, unforgiving winter woods. Burdened with the responsibility of providing for her family, she navigates the perils that lie near the border wall separating human lands from Prythian, the enigmatic domain of the fairies. The wall, a scar of past conflicts, stands as both a physical and symbolic barrier, shrouding human eyes from the truths and dangers of the Fey world beyond. Amidst her hunt, Feyre encounters an unusual wolf. Its striking eyes raise suspicions of the creature being more than a mere animal, perhaps a fairy in disguise. Caught between necessity and fear, she decides to bring it down alongside a deer, only to discover a bitter cost to her actions. The next evening, her family's modest dwelling is invaded by a formidable beast, covered in thick fur and bearing the antlers of its kind, demanding justice for the slain wolf. Revealing its true nature as a fairy, the beast offers her a harsh choice: face execution or become a captive in their realm. Pressed by poverty and her family's desperate pleas, Feyre chooses captivity over certain death. Her journey unfolds toward a grand manor, marking her entry into an unfamiliar world rich with potential peril and discovery. The narrative missteps away from a well-worn path, drawing inspiration from Andrew Lang's rendition of Beauty and the Beast within the Blue Fairy book. However, it is woven with its own distinct threads, marking significant departures from the traditional narrative. Here, it is not the father's misdeeds but Feyre's own that set the stage for her unfolding fate. Feyre's inner struggle begins to surface, portraying a young woman caught in the throes of prejudice and survivalism. Her act of killing the wolf, a potential fairy, reveals an instinctively distrustful heart, conditioned by an inherited fear of the unknown. Yet, the story teases the question of whether Feyre's apprehension is justified by truth or merely a tale tangled in myth and ignorance. This core tension suggests a journey not only through foreign lands but through the uncharted territories of understanding and acceptance, challenging her initial beliefs and setting the stage for personal growth and enlightenment. This retold version of Beauty and the Beast riffs on familiar motifs while exploring bold changes in character roles. Feyre stands as an unintentional transgressor rather than a victim of her father's downfall, signaling an evolution of classic tales into a narrative that highlights independent agency over inherited destiny. As the story advances, one can anticipate the entwining themes of adventure and the breaking of barriers, both literal and metaphorical, between realms and minds. What emerges is a tapestry of intrigue and emotion, promising to deepen with each passing chapter. Duality of Captivity. Upon entering the enigmatic world of fairies, Feyre finds herself unable to return home but not entirely confined. The imposing beast, who lives in a sumptuous mansion, insists that she's free to roam anywhere within the fairy lands, yet her return to her family remains forbidden. Her first evening in the castle reveals an intriguing dinner companion, the beast, now in a handsome human form obscured by a masquerade mask, and a masked fairy named Lucian. She learns the beast's true identity is Tamlin, a high fae of immense power, and Lucian, his loyal emissary. Feyre is curious about the masks and discovers they are the result of a powerful blight that struck during a masquerade party, trapping Tamlin and his court in their party attire. Although fascinated, Feyre's primary concern is escaping, even considering swiping a dinner knife for her plan. Despite Tamlin's attempts at friendliness, she allies herself with Lucien, hoping he might assist her in winning her freedom. Yet, both men share a connection to Adris, the wolf she killed, making them disinterested in aiding her departure. During an outing with Lucien, Feyre encounters a bog, a malevolent fairy that can only harm if acknowledged. As anxiety grips her, Lucien advises her to ignore its presence. Surviving the encounter, she realizes her vulnerability beyond Tamlin's lands and senses the weight of her confinement more keenly. Her predicament conflicts with a promise made to her dying mother to provide for her family. When she shares her vow with Tamlin, he reassures her, emphasizing that her family remains safe and well provided for. Yet, haunted by a dream, Feyre kills and skins the wolf, only to discover it transforms into a man, sparking remorse within her. Feyre's situation soon becomes evident, a paradox where she's a guest who cannot freely leave, bordered by deadly threats. Unlike the conventional fairy tale where captives develop love for their captors, Feyre's narrative unfolds to reveal her as a self-reliant character navigating a world of moral complexities. Her captivity is not solely at Tamlin's hands but a requirement of an ancient treaty that gives her the grim choices of imprisonment or death. Gradually, Feyre's empathy blossoms, where she once mercilessly hunted a fairy, she now grapples with guilt and understanding. Her dreams symbolized this evolving conscience, showing her growth from a relentless survivor to someone who comprehends the weight of her actions. In this tale, Feyre's journey is about transcending her circumstances and confronting the blurred lines between villain and hero, freedom and captivity. Magic and warmth. Feyre's journey takes a transformative turn as she discovers her family is thriving, thanks to Tamlin's intervention. His enchantment ensures they believe she is safe with a dying aunt, fulfilling her sense of duty but leaving her feeling displaced. Despite the peace this brings, Feyre grapples with a newfound freedom and loss of necessity. Her life at Tamlin's side starts to blossom when she tends to a dying fairy, a moment that bridges their softening affections. Captivated by her compassion, Tamlin opens up his world, offering Feyre an art gallery and the tools to paint, her true passion. This gesture mirrors a timeless tale where beauty finds solace in a grand library, yet this modern beauty expresses herself through the colors and strokes of painting, affirming her individuality beyond her relationships. An unexpected night out leads her into danger, only to be saved by a mysterious figure in black. Lucien, a trusted ally, ensures her safe return, just as a barely controlled Tamlin visits her, driven by an unbridled passion. Despite the initial intensity, a tender kiss the following day breaks barriers between them. Tamlin lifts the enchantment on her eyes, revealing a magical realm rich with beauty, igniting a sense of belonging within her heart. The unfolding romance between Tamlin and Feyre is not just about their growing affections but rather their shared acts of kindness and understanding. Tamlin begins to see Feyre's strength and responsibility, while she appreciates his powerful leadership and genuine care for others. This sees them both recognizing the value of their independent passions and deeper connections. Feyre's burgeoning relationship with Tamlin is intertwined with the art of her expression, reinforcing the idea that while love is a powerful force, personal identity is equally essential. Each character's compassion and kindness add a rich texture to their journey, suggesting that personal growth comes not from solely loving another but from appreciating individual passions and freedoms. Feyre's story invites readers into a world where magic and warmth coexist, painting an image of love that respects independence. Storm of Secrets. In the midst of tranquil moments filled with starry swims and enchanting dances among singing fairies, Feyre and Tamlin savor their love, but serenity is a fleeting dream. Their quiet evening shatters as Tamlin senses impending danger. With urgency, he demands Lucien to protect Feyre, and Lucien cloaks her with an enchantment to conceal her from prying eyes. Intruding upon this fragile peace is Rhys-Anne, a striking yet ominous figure Feyre remembers from past encounters. An emissary and lover to the mysterious and fearsome High Lady, Amarantha, Rhys-Anne brings with him an aura of intimidation, hinting at the malevolence that grips the land of Prythian. As he and Lucien clash, his gaze pierces Lucien's spell, exposing Feyre. He mocks and coerces Tamlin into humiliating submission, delighting in his power over him. Tamlin pleads for Feyre's safety, acutely aware of the threat Amarantha's knowledge of her presence would bring. In a desperate bid for Feyre's security, Tamlin decides she must return to her human world. Shouldering the blame for Andros' death, he releases her from her debt, choosing her freedom over the risk that keeping her might invite. Yet their parting is bittersweet, underscored by a love unspoken by Feyre, and marked by their first and last shared night of passion. Feyre awakens in circumstances far different from those she left behind. Her family, elevated by Tamlin's unseen hand, now thrives in prosperity with newfound social standing. Despite this, her heart is unanchored, tethered to Tamlin's world. The memory of his fear of Rhysand and his unspoken love haunt her. Compelled by her heart's longing in the dark clouds of uncertainty, Feyre returns to the spring court. There, an eerie stillness greets her, the once bustling castle now lays eerily desolate, with only Alis remaining. The open gates whisper of desolation forebode the storm that is Amarantha, a spectre of power yet unseen but deeply felt. This chapter peels back the layers of the true antagonist, Amarantha, whose influence corrupts the land and instills terror in those under her shadow. Tamlin's submission to her agent underscores the extent of her dominion. Moreover, questions arise over Tamlin's previous unwillingness to free Feyre, suggesting a complexity in his affection, a love shrouded in the obligations of captor and liberator. As the storm edges closer, Feyre's journey unfolds against the backdrop of allegiances and secrets, where the boundaries between freedom and captivity blur. Love, trials, and revelations. Alis, the enigmatic maid, reveals a tale cloaked in curses and destined love. For almost 5 decades, Tamlin has been ensnared by Amarantha's spell, a complex enchantment requiring a human woman filled with fairy hatred, one who kills without mercy, to fall in love with him. By killing Andros in wolf form, Feyre unknowingly etched her role in this narrative. But this was no mere coincidence. Tamlin, aware of the curse's far-reaching impact, orchestrated a plan involving fairies disguised as animals, hoping to entice a human into their realm. With Feyre, his gamble paid off, yet she was no longer just a pawn. Tamlin's heart was now truly hers, prompting a courageous yet heart-wrenching decision to return her to safety, sacrificing himself in the process. Undaunted, Feyre resolves to reciprocate Tamlin's sacrifice. Her journey takes her to Under the Mountain, Amarantha's lair, where terror reigns supreme. There, she encounters Tamlin, a mere spectre of his former self, seated obediently by Amarantha. Accompanying them in this court of fear are Lucien and Amarantha's consort, Rhysand. Unlike Tamlin, Lucien remains acutely aware, ever observing. Amarantha dangles a perilous path before Feyre, complete 3 daunting trials or decipher a riddle to win Tamlin's freedom. These trials stretch over months, during which Feyre endures imprisonment, abuse, and neglect. Lucien provides rare moments of solace when his visits are permitted. The first trial pits Feyre against a monstrous worm in a treacherous mud pit labyrinth. A feat of cunning rather than sheer strength, Feyre prevails but not without injury, suffering a broken arm. The spectators had wagered on her demise, save for one who placed faith in her unlikely victory. Days later, fevered and in despair, she encounters Rhysand, the unlikely backer, offering healing in exchange for 1 week of her life every month. Though initially resistant, she agrees, recognizing her bleak alternative. With newfound strength, she survives to face the second trial, a puzzle which Rhysand assists her in solving through his telepathic prowess. The third and most harrowing trial forces her to make unspeakable choices, 3 hooded fairies kneeling before her, destined for the dagger in her hand. As her resolve is tested, Feyre murders the first 2, their faces bared to her in a macabre ceremony. Her love for Tamlin steers her hand in these acts of brutality. But as the third hood is removed, she finds herself staring into Tamlin's eyes, confronted with a choice of fatal consequence, his life or hers. In a desperate recollection, she affirms the expression of his heart of stone, an allegory made literal by Amarantha's curse. Placing her trust in this notion, she stabs Tamlin, the blade biting not into flesh but stone. Amarantha, enraged by her unraveling plan, lunges at Feyre, ready to end her life. But Feyre halts the assault with a simple truth to the riddle: love. With love as the key, the curse unravels, restoring Tamlin's power. Amarantha falls, and the High Lords are freed. But Feyre sustains grave wounds in the process, prompting them to share their light, reviving her as a High Fae. Together, Feyre and Tamlin return to the Spring Court, prepared to rebuild their world. This tale defies traditional gender norms, positioning Feyre as both warrior and rescuer. However, Feyre's empowerment remains ambiguous, blurred by the whims of a madwoman's game. The revelation of Tamlin's complicity, willing to endanger his own to ensnare Feyre, casts him in a new, unsettling light, as does Amarantha's court, with its gruesome displays of cruelty, corpses strung along walls and the trophy of a fairy's soul and eye worn as jewelry. Tamlin's benevolence is now doubtful, mirroring Feyre's own dark journey, marked by monstrous moral dilemmas and a pact binding her to Rhysand. As the curtain closes, questions linger about the moral landscape of these choices. Are Feyre's murders overshadowed by the salvation they spurred? Does love redeem all actions? Rhysand, despite a shadowy presence, emerges with noble intentions, heralding his broader role in future stories. The stage is set for further romantic complexities and challenges, suggesting the dance of two hearts intertwined amidst a world fraught with relentless trials and unexpected revelations.
In A Court of Thorns and Roses, SarahJMaas weaves an elaborate tapestry of adventure, romance, and self-discovery, setting the stage for a gripping series. As the story unfolds, readers witness Feyre's transformation from a desperate human huntress into a High Fae with newfound power and an indomitable spirit. Her journey is marked by profound themes, including the blurred lines between freedom and imprisonment, as well as empathy and prejudice. The tale questions traditional gender roles, compelling readers to rethink notions of empowerment and sacrifice. Feyre's actions, driven by love and resilience, challenge us to ponder the cost and justification of her choices. This new adaptation breathes life into the narrative, questioning whether love truly conquers all. As political tensions and romantic intrigue deepen, it sets the stage for future encounters with characters such as the enigmatic Rhysand and the looming conflicts beyond the narrative scope, inviting readers back into a rich, expansive world.